Hey everybody, this is Dr. Cheryl Schmidt. I am doing this Zoom chat for you guys to answer some of your questions that you have about homeschooling. How do you do it? When do you start? What are the laws? What kinds of different styles of homeschooling are there? Because there are a lot of questions that I get asked a lot of times from friends, people I know, strangers, complete strangers on the internet, because I do talk about my homeschooling experience a lot on social media and with people that I'm around, because I really love what we're doing. I love the freedom that it gives my family. It wasn't always easy. I'll tell you that right from the get-go. We had some times that we struggled really a lot with homeschooling and knowing what fit for our family. And really, frankly, to learn how to get out of the box of what homeschooling meant for us, because we grew up in the system. What I mean by that is my husband and I were both in the public school system 100% from kindergarten through college, got doctorate degrees. We're both chiropractors now, so we were always within the educational system, and that's how we thought it was always done. And we didn't really learn about homeschooling until we had our own kids and we started to live a more holistic, connected lifestyle that was frankly out of the system in a lot of ways, and homeschooling just kind of became something that was natural for us. So what I want to do here today, I want to do a quick video. I had a lot of people sign up for this. I had probably, I don't know, a little over 60 people sign up who had questions about homeschooling. So instead of taking 60 people's questions, what I did is I took the questions that I get most often and trying to answer those questions for you. Because otherwise it was going to get a little too crazy, a little too chaotic. And I really didn't want to make this too long for you guys, because I know you have busy days, and for those who are watching the replay, I want you to be able to get some information from it and kind of get a jumping off starting point. And then you're free to ask me questions. You can email me or get on. The best way to probably contact me is to go on to my community that I have on Facebook. It's called Fearless Family Health Community, and just come on there. Get on the community. You can ask me questions on there. I will answer them. I'll do Facebook Lives on questions if I get them a lot. Anyway, I'll go more into depth with your specific information in that way, as well as I have some other things going on that I can really help you as well. So first of all, the big things I want to go over are the big questions that I get. I usually get about 5 kind of big main questions. The first one is the technicalities. We're going to get that over with because that's kind of the not fun stuff, and I want to talk about that first. It's the laws on homeschooling. So every state, every province, every country has different laws on homeschooling. There are a few countries where homeschooling is not allowed. You have to put your kids into the public or into a school system. I know there's some kind of tricky ways to get around things like that, or some alternative schools people use, things like that, but I don't want to get into those countries right now because I don't really know enough about them, and they aren't where the majority of my people are asking questions from. So it seems like I know Germany's like that for one, but I'm not too sure what all countries there are. You can always check your own country if you're not from the United States or Canada. So United States and Canada, homeschooling is 100% legal in every single state or province. Each state, I have to be honest, I don't know if there's a difference in the provinces, which I assume there is, and the provinces do have their own homeschooling regulations, I am sure, just like the states do. But I live in the United States, so this is kind of my area of expertise, so to speak. I'm just going by my own experiences and what I've learned being a homeschooling mom now for 10 years. So each state has their own separate rules and regulations that's governed by each state. A beautiful place to go and get your own state regulations is hslda.org. It's a Homeschooling Legal Defense Association, I believe it's association. They have a really great page that you just click in what state you're in, and it gives you easy to read what you need to do as a homeschooler to be legal in your state. And I'm not paid by them at all, but I think it is a great opportunity to join the HSLDA if you are in the United States, just to have some help in case anything were ever to come up legally. You have a lawyer on retainer, and they can help you with anything. So that is a great organization. You can get a lot of free information there, but it's also a great organization to support and be part of. So I'm going to just talk about Washington State to give you an example of how kind of easy it can be. In Washington State, first and foremost, and each state is different, you don't need to have your children in any form of educational system until they are 8 years old, which means you don't have to sign any papers, you don't have to do anything, you're not truant, nothing's going to happen until they are 8 years old. So you can continue to do what you want without answering to anybody until that age. So 8 to 18 are the years of homeschooling years in Washington State. I know, like Florida, for example, it's 6 years old. They don't have to do anything till 6, but it's 6 to 16. They don't have to be enrolled in public school or any educational system after 16. So each state's a little bit different. The years are going to be slightly different. Most of them, I believe, are 6 or older. But again, the hslda.org will tell you which one, what age exactly. So anyway, Washington State, you matriculate your children or put them into a system of some sort, and it can be a homeschooling system at 8 years of age. And I highly suggest doing that just so you have the freedom to explore what works for your family. Unless you really want to get into a very, very structured program, I wouldn't really even consider doing it earlier. If you decide to go into public school, you can do it then. It's not going to be an issue if you don't have them enrolled and maybe want to start in the 2nd grade in public school. It doesn't really matter. They'll just assess your child where they're at and just get going right from there. So 8 years old in Washington State. And then in Washington State, you have to do that. And all it is an intent to homeschool form. You get one from online or from your school district. You fill it out, you send it into your school district and just say, look, don't expect my child in school. We are homeschooling them, basically. So that's step number 1. And then step number 2 is you have to do an annual assessment of some kind. Assessments can range. They don't have to be the tests that we typically see or hear of or think of when we think about school. They're not like fill in the blank or multiple choice questions. They could be if you choose that kind of test. There's a lot of choices. They can be assessments done by a school teacher or assessment that you do yourself. You send in just to get reviewed and signed off on. So there's a lot of different assessments that you can do. I can get into more details on that too if you guys have more questions. But in Washington State, there is an assessment that is required. And then you do, as a homeschooling parent in Washington State, you do have to have some credentials per se, and that's either a number of undergraduate degree credits, and the amount that you'll need is listed on your Washington State Homeschooling Association will have that stuff for you. Or a degree, or you can take a homeschooling course, which is a pretty easy course to get a hold of. They hold them, I think, at least once a year, probably more than that. I think actually they hold them twice a year around here. You get a certificate. I think it's like a 3-day class course, and you have a certificate to go on and you can homeschool. And they just go over kind of all this stuff, the rules, the laws, how you do the assessments, and then any information that you might need so you are prepared for homeschooling. Even if you have a degree, it's not a bad thing to consider taking. I haven't taken it, but I know people who have. And then if you don't have either of those, you can be overseen by a school teacher, someone who has an education degree. And I don't know too many people who do that. They usually do one of the other two modes. And if your partner or your spouse has a degree, then they can be the homeschooling parent you don't both need to have it. So hopefully that answers those questions, at least about Washington, because I know I have a lot of people from Washington, because that's where I'm from, and so I know a lot of people from there. Like Idaho, for example, there's really no regulations. You don't have to do any assessments. You don't have to even let people know that you're homeschooling. It's really quite a free state as far as homeschooling. Each state is different. Washington's kind of middle of the ground. There's a couple of states that are a little bit more stringent in what you require. So again, if you go to hslda.org and check your state, they will have a great breakdown of what is required for you in your state. Now, as far as the next question I get is, like, how do you homeschool? So that is a loaded question, and that is going to be hard to get in to really deeply here, but I'm going to give you just kind of a basic outline. There are multiple ways to homeschool. As unique as there are individuals, there are ways to homeschool. So you don't have to follow a set curriculum. You don't have to follow a set pattern or style of learning. Even within my family, I have 4 kids now. They each have a different interest and a different way of learning themselves. So even within my kids, I homeschool them all differently. And then depending on your family, and I like to, when I get one-on-one work with people or small group work with people, I really start talking about what your values are, what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish with homeschooling. And then we look at different modes of homeschooling, whether that's kind of eclectic homeschooling, using unit workbooks, using a structured curriculum, free schooling or unschooling. There's a plethora of different kind of umbrella modes to homeschool that fit with each individual family. So no, you do not need to do a structured curriculum, especially at 3, 4, or 5 years of age. If you want to, if your kids are into that, they want to do workbooks, they want to do art classes, they want to do certain sports, you can do all those things with your kids. You can do what really brings them alive and what lights them up. So that's the beauty of homeschooling, is that there's no one set way of doing it. It's also very hard for a lot of people because they want to know what to do. Because frankly, we have been told how to do things and what to do and what steps to do them in, being in a public school system our whole lives. And that's a whole nother side of things I'm not going to really get into, but we are given our curriculum, and this is what you should do, this is what you need to learn, this is what we're going to test you on, this is what, it's been like that our whole lives. So having the freedom can sometimes be really overwhelming for people, to really know that you don't need to follow that structure anymore. And it's really okay. You have the freedom to guide your family in what feels right and what fits right for them. So then I have people that talk about the schedule for their day. So if you are it doesn't matter. If you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a work out of the home family, or a stay-at-home dad, you don't need to do a curriculum or a structure that's the same as the school. Not at all. I mean, that's another beauty of homeschooling. You don't need to have them sitting down and doing workbooks from 8 in the morning to 2:30 in the afternoon. It doesn't need to work like that at all. You can create your learning opportunities around your life, your lifestyle, your interests, travel, whatever. I mean, that can all be incorporated into the learning, because you are learning things during life. So if you want to do sit down workbooks, you can do them at 7 o'clock in the evening for an hour, or on a Saturday afternoon at 3. It doesn't matter when you do it. You can fit your schedule and structure around what works for you. And if you don't do a couple of days of stuff, then that's fine. And in fact, as unschoolers, I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. We don't do ever any structured curriculum, and doing life and everyday life, you are learning all the time. And so we don't break it down into times or schedules or curriculum or subjects. It's not like that at all for how we do things. So there's, like I said, there's a plethora of ways of doing it, and knowing first and foremost that you can be outside of a box of how people usually learn things is kind of the first step. So, and then again, the big question I get, and we probably all heard it, how do your kids socialize? How do they find friends? Take them to a park. Take them to, my kids play sports. They go to the beach. They hang out with their grandfather. They hang out with their friends of mine who have homeschool kids. So kids are always meeting more kids. They're out there in the world, and that's the best kind of socialization, is real life socialization. So we're not keeping our kids hidden in a closet at home and not letting them out to see people. If you're doing that, then no, they probably won't get socialized very well. But that's not happening. Homeschoolers are some of the most interesting, introspective, great conversationalists because they have a variety of people that they get to interact with all the time, from little kids or smaller kids than them to adults. So that is how you learn, is by being around a variety of people. So the socialization question, I kind of just want to get out of the way. And some kids are going to be more shy. They're going to be quieter. They're going to be more introverted. They might have one or two friends and not a lot of friends because that's who they are. And then you're going to have another child who's an extreme extrovert who says hi to everybody, and in 5 minutes in the playground has like 10 kids all playing their game together. So it's more of a reflection on who the child is than what the socialization opportunities that they get. So that's just another thing I kind of want to let you guys know about. There's a couple of specific questions I wanted to read because I got these, and someone said, I am really wanting to homeschool my 5-year-old. How do I get started? And is there some sort of hands-on homeschooling? So I talked about this a little bit already, that there's all these different ways of homeschooling. And this question I wanted to bring up because this is probably what I get the most, is that your child is reaching what we typically call school age. They get to be 4, 5, 6 years old, and parents start to freak out that their kids aren't in some kind of structured curriculum homeschooling program or regular school program. So they think that they need to do something right away. So what I want to tell those parents, and I hope you take this nicely, is just to calm down. Calm down. It's okay. Your kids are learning something every day. Read to them. Play with them. Show them the world. Take them to museums. Take them to the park. Look at nature. All those things. Go fishing with them. All these things are teaching kids such valuable lessons, and you can actually break that all down into curriculum. Take your kid for a walk in the woods. You're doing physical education. You're doing science. You can read them a book about being in the woods. You're doing language arts. That is how we can homeschool. And these little ones, this age, just follow their lead. What are they interested in? What do they want to do? What really makes them happy? Let's foster their creativity and their love of learning. And you will be surprised. You will probably be shocked to know how easily they can, quote unquote, keep up with kids that are in a structured program. And I want to pull you a little bit further. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about keeping up with the curriculum, because who made that in the first place? Who decided that kids needed to learn to read at 5? It's not really natural for kids to start learning that young. Some kids do. Some kids learn to read at 3 because that's their gift. That's what they love to do. I have kids that didn't learn to read until they were 10 or 11. And it just, once they were ready, clicked, and they went off reading. So letting that go, letting that pressure of having to keep up and pressure of having to be part of a system that has been artificially created in the first place, just let it go. Yeah, so that's mostly what I wanted to go over with you guys today. It's hard because there's so many people, and each and every one of you is unique. Each and every one of you has a child that has different gifts and different challenges. I have 4 kids, 4 different gifts, 4 different challenges. Each day is unique, and we do a type of homeschooling called unschooling. So we don't follow curriculum. We are outside the box. We don't follow the system. We don't, we are doing things a lot differently than any public school system ever has done. And there are ways, if you have questions about older kids or what do we do when they're in high school, like you can do the same thing. They can go to high school. They can go to college. Even with the type of schooling that we're doing, unschooling, a ton of kids go on to college and get like doctorate degrees and PhDs if they want to. And some of them go off and become artists, or they follow who they are and they really embrace their gifts. So I would love to get into this a lot more with you guys, because it is so unique and individualized. So I can give you this little bit here. Hopefully I answered some of kind of the basic questions that I hear a lot of. I am gonna have a program for people who want to kind of get deeper in. If you're really confused, if you really don't know what fits for your family, if you have no idea what unschooling is or what eclectic school is, or how a structured curriculum works, then I have a program that I have offered for people to come kind of with me more one-on-one. It'll be smaller group sessions where we can look at each of you individually, look at your goals, why you want to homeschool, what really is pushing you to want to do that, what is really important in your family, what do you want to accomplish from homeschooling, what are your family's goals, how does your child, what lights them up, and how do they learn best. We can look at all those things and really try to get you started off on the right foot. Because I didn't start off unschooling. I started off with a more structured curriculum with my kids because that's what I thought I needed to do. When my son I didn't really start until he was about 7. I kind of gave him that first couple of years, from 5 to 7, to still do play-based learning, but then I started doing curriculum, and it was a struggle for us because it didn't fit his learning style and it didn't fit our family values. And so I went back and forth for a few years, really trying to figure it out. And I have a bunch of families that I work with that do all different forms of homeschooling. And it fits for their family. So if you want someone to help you get you started, I'm going to offer a program for those people, small groups, so it's going to be a limited number of people. And it's going to start in September. We're going to start kind of when the normal school year starts, for a couple of months. We'll get you going, get you confident, get you really knowing how you want to go forward, or if homeschooling is even for you. So yeah, I want to put that out there for you guys because I know some of you really are struggling and what to do, and it really takes more intentional look into your lives and your individual unique situation to make sure that you have things set up the way you want. Whether you're a chiropractor like me who works some days and has a husband who's also with the kids a lot, or you're a stay-at-home mom, or you're working full-time and you're trying to figure out how to get this to work because it just sounds impossible. I can help guide you. I can give you resources. I can kind of get in there and get in your brain and figure out what would work and what would fit for you guys and your family. So I hope this has helped. Thank you guys for your interest. Homeschooling is a blessing. It's amazing. Now we love what we're doing. We have more confidence in what we're doing, and our kids are getting older, and we're kind of seeing the fruits of our labor, so to speak. My oldest is actually going to be 15 this week. So there's still some things that are ironed out. It's never utopia. It's never picture perfect, but man, it is really good when it starts to kind of align with your purpose and your values and you see more joy. So thanks, guys. I'm going to tag off for today, and let me know if you have any questions. Again, go on to the Fearless Family Health community on Facebook. I also have Fearless Family Health on Instagram. If you prefer to DM me there, you can send me a message if you have more questions or comments. I'd love to hear how you guys are doing. And thanks again. I will see you guys again later.